I would say that, let's frame this, that this is a resolution for the board to determine if we're going to appoint. There is also a resolution for holding a special election. Okay, so I think it would be best if we were to hear a discussion about the second one as well. So I'll offer my comments about if there's an appointment. First I'd like to say Tim Jorgensen came in elected. Tim Jorgensen served this community in many ways. He was a teacher, a coach, highly involved in things. Kids loved him. He was the kind of person that will walk up to a kid and say, why are you doing that to yourself? Why not so much, don't embarrass us or anything like that. He was a union rep. He was a great union rep. I sat out in the audience for 5 years before I got up here. He would live at the schools if you'd let him. He will be very hard to replace because he brought a lot of institutional knowledge, and plus he was involved in mentoring new teachers, and he still does that now. So I would hope that if someone's going to try to fill that position, that they would take a couple moments and contemplate, what am I walking into? It is extremely difficult, and I'm speaking for myself. I sat out there for 5 years before I put my hat in the ring. And when you're sitting in the audience, you're not on the board. Some people think that, we get 3 or 4 people raising hell in the community and being loud, we're the board. You're not on the board. When the county tells you that you have a majority vote, then you are on the board. We are a governmental body. We are not an advisory commission. Everything we do is governed by the law, educational law. And some people just have a really hard time with that. But if you sit out there for 5 years, you are going to get the business that's coming at you as it happens, the LCAPs, the first interim, the second interim, all these different things. Very little of it is stuff that you have any leeway. It's just a recommendation to the superintendent. Some people come on the board, have a very rough time. Like my first superintendent, he resigned 10 minutes before I got on the board, so I didn't have a chance to know him much. But it's very hard to drop into here, even with a great deal of experience out there, because when you go back there, the whole world changes. It changes rapidly. We haven't had a lot of people sitting out there that know the basic function. Now, the Newhall School District, and this is not an endorsement of the Newhall School District, but you know that when they have an election cycle coming up, they have a candidate forum, and anybody can come to it, and it's just basically people come in and they go through a governance session, an informal governance session. They talk about board member roles and responsibilities. It's not the same kind of thing we had from Ron, but it concerns me that people come in and it's basically a popularity contest. And my first problem is going to be, how many times have I seen you in the audience, and how are we going to bring you up to speed to even make basic decisions where you're not getting your sea legs trying to, because it's very difficult when you're sitting up here at first and you really don't know what's going on, and you kind of feel inside like, I'm not adding anything, I'm not participating, I'm not being efficient, and that's very difficult. So I would say this: if you're going to entertain putting somebody up here through a process, this, I like you and you like me stuff, it's not going to work for me. I'm going to want to know what you know, what you think you can add, what kind of those things. I've been through a couple of appointment exercises that were a fiasco. It sounded more like a county fair judging than anything. It was embarrassing. So I would like to see that if we're going to appoint someone, number one, we need to get something out there for people to be able to feel like I can attend something, I can know what I'm getting into, and I can come on with a basic level of competence rather than having, scratch for my position up here and make, politicize everything. So I would strongly suggest that the board, if we choose, instead of having an election, that we make some type of a day session or something for people to know what we're getting into. Son, you are late. Is he going to run? Anyway, guys, I'm just saying I'll welcome anybody up here, because anybody that wants to sit up here is half crazy to begin with. But I appreciate people that want to serve the community and the students, and I don't want to have it to be a popularity contest. I like people to stand up here with confidence, tell us who they are and how they think they can make all of us better, because we're certainly not as good as we can be. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your patience. This is $60,000. That means that 6 kids walk in the door the first day of the school year. We take that money and we hold a special election and leave Kevin to try to figure out how to. And the reason it's so expensive is because you can't blend costs with the other elections. So the preferable thing is that people are put on the board by an election. That way we know who the public wants, not a vocal minority. And so that is the desired way to do this. My question and my understanding is that if you have a special election, that fills the seat until the November election, and then you do it again. Or does it fill the seat for the entirety of the term?
The former, until November election.
So we would spend $60,000 to have someone try to figure out what's going on during April, May, and June, and then come back, and during that time, we know everybody that is going to be running for election starts campaigning up here, whatever day they start, and it's disgusting. It's in March, you know.
It's $5,000 a month.
Yeah, so it's about 88, really. Now, the attractive thing to this, to me, for that, is that, as Tom said, that's quite a bit of time. That's enough time to figure out who's going to start showing up here and doing the work, because that candidate pool isn't really big right now. It also gives people a lot of time. But again, it's $60,000 of our kids' money. That's a hard one for me to swallow. So, I just want to make sure everybody understands the cost and the length of service you would get for that cost. Now, you could have a filing period. If someone files, or 2 people file, or no one files, I believe that it negates the cost of the election, which would put us back to appointing someone. There didn't seem to be a plethora of candidates this last election. I don't know what would happen, but I'm not big on the 60 grand. So once again, point of order. We've had, you're calling the question, if the vote is unanimous, 3-1, that sets what we're doing in stone in terms of a resolution to a point. It doesn't move on to then holding a special election. We've thus saved the district $60,000. If there's a tie or not enough votes to carry the day, then and only then will we move into voting on the resolution for a special election. I hate doing this, but point of order. There are some things that everybody needs to know. This needs to be advertised in the newspaper. Again, I made the strongest suggestion. Please find a way to let people know that on this day there will be an attorney at the expense of the district giving, or at minimum, you show them the link to the training we had, and make sure that people have the opportunity to kind of figure out, yeah, this is what I want to do, and this will be a very professional thing. We're here to find help. We're not here to replicate each other and all that. So there's a lot of people out there who put a lot of time in to the students and the kids of this town. There's a bunch of them out there, and we'll find somebody good. And I do appreciate the board members deciding not to spend $60,000 tonight. Thank you very much.
Can we loop real quick?